So without further ado, I introduce Alex Collier.
Thank you, Michael. Hello? Hello? Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a real honor for me to be here to share the stage with so many awesome speakers. Yes, I took a hiatus, and a well-deserved hiatus. I started talking about this in the early 1990s, and very few people were ready to hear about it. And I was very passionate about it, and I kept bucking the system, only to get pushed back and pushed back. And there comes a point where you know that you just have to let go. You know it in relationships, you know it in a career. Sometimes you even know it with yourself or with members of your family. You just have to just stop pushing, you just let go. And that's what I had to do. And in that process of letting go, I evolved a lot. And that needed to happen. I needed to grow. It doesn't seem like it, but for 40 years, I have had a relationship with human beings from the constellation of Andromeda. It started when I was 8 years old, and I only have an hour and a half, so I just want to kind of skim through this, because all the information, or most of the information that you want, is available for free on the internet. And it is for free. I don't own the material. I just volunteered to deliver the message. They're an incredible race. Now, they're not gods, okay? And in the metaphysical community, in the UFO community, the New Age community, it's dangerous to worship your myths and your idols, because when you do that, you don't necessarily see their faults. And everybody has faults. They are a fifth-dimensional race. They are technologically 10,000 years more advanced than us, and spiritually probably closer to 50,000. But they still have their own issues, okay, with their own society. They're still evolving. They're still trying to make their way and find out what is the path. And each one of them has their own path, because they're individuals, just like we are. So regardless of who makes first contact, who shows up afterwards, whoever's in this room, the bottom line is this: we are all at different stages of evolution, but no one is better than any other. All right? No one is. And don't ever accept that. The Andromedans first came here because something happens in the future. And there's a very negative imbalance that occurs in their future. And in tracing it back, they traced it back to our solar system. I don't know if that is still a probability now. We are getting all kinds of help and intervention from many different races. And the reason for that is fascinating, to be perfectly honest with you. And it's probably going to take a little while for it to sit with you, but it's important that I do the best that I can to share this. It is the Andromedan perspective that all of us on this planet are genetic royalty. That inside each one of us, we hold the combined DNA of 22 different extraterrestrial races. Now, all of the speakers have touched upon some of these things over the weekend, and I've sat in the audience with you, and bells would go off all the time. Dr. Cremo made reference to, here's physicality, but something brings it to life. Something creates the DNA. Okay, that's obviously spirit. It's soul. David Wilcock talked about the same thing, of spirit, higher dimensional realms, higher entities coming in and creating a template over life. All of these things are a possibility because God is so incredibly creative. There is no limit to the creativity of the Creator or to us. Now, the Andromedan perspective, and I'm just going to get right into this and then I'll share some stories because I want you to sit with this. The Andromedan perspective is that many of us have already been through this cycle of evolution on a spiritual level. It is their perspective, and this is information that they have received from teachers that they have that are on 9th density, is that on the 11th density, there is a race of beings called the Patal. They're also known as the founders, who created the wormholes and many other things, okay, in our known universe. The Vidya, it's a holograph. Those who created our holograph, the original ones who created our holograph. Apparently, the spiritual evolution of our universe got stuck. Somehow it got stuck. And it was interesting that David Wilcock talked about that last night as well. It is their perspective that this group of Patal left eternity to fall back into the concept of time. And that many civilizations, approximately 21 civilizations, in 3rd density, which are going through the same process we're going through, Patal are on all of those planets. Okay? So now you have highly spiritually evolved beings who came in to time, choosing to forget who they were, stepping into genetic royalty physicality. Now, within that physicality and that genetic makeup that we also have the racial memories of these races. Now, that's profound because when you take a look at the idea that many of these different races come from completely different environments, completely different living habitats and ecosystems, which we'll talk about, there truly is absolutely no limit to what we are and what we can do. The question no longer is, and I agree absolutely 100% with Paula on this, it isn't, are we alone? That question's done. The question is, what do we want? That's the question. Who do you want to be? It's not who you were, who do you want to be? What do you want? In what direction do you want to create? What do you want to create? Do we create it together? Or do we stand as individuals? That's really where humanity is. We're going to get all the help in the world, but they are not going to do the work for us. They're just not. They can't. We will never permanently, spiritually evolve 3rd density into 4th and to 5th if they do the work for us. And that does not mean, and that literally means not everybody's going to graduate on this planet. Okay? But that's okay. We're all soul. We're all spirit. People start over all the time. Okay? The idea here is who wants to? Okay? You all have what it takes. And I'm not only addressing you, I'm also addressing whoever sees this, because these DVDs have a life of their own. Okay? The Andromedans are light blue skinned. They have 3 sexes, androgynous, male and female. They live in a spiritual community where their lifespan is anywhere from an average of 1,900, 1,800 years to 2,300 years. Some of their race actually live much longer, but that's the average. Their children go to school to what would be the equivalent of our years, 150 to 180 years, where they learn all the sciences, they get all the degrees, and everything that is available as far as knowledge at the moment is taught to them. So when these kids grow up, they are in fact smarter than their parents. And that's called the law of consistency, which is what they practice. All right? They would never, ever consider dumbing down their children.